Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode of Motherhood is Ghetto. My name is Joy, and how y'all doing out there? If y'all doing all right, say amen. I pray you are having a great day today. Pray you're having a great week, a great month so far. We're halfway through May. The kiddies should be getting ready to get out of school if they haven't already for y'all. My kitty's last day is this Friday, so we're getting ready for summer. But I hope and pray that you are having a good day. And before we get into the episode, got to pay some bills around here. You already know how it go. So this episode is being brought to you today by the Empowered Mama Planner. So, if you haven't already, or if you don't know, I've been talking about the Empowered Mama Planner all this year and in every episode since it dropped. So I created a planner just for mamas to help you stay organized, help you get your money and your finances organized, and to give you that little extra encouragement that us mamas all need. So it has a love letter in there from me to you. It has budgeting tips. It has self-care tips, tips to make self-care beneficial and effective for you. It also has a undated planner in it, so there's no months or dates in it, so that way you can pick it up and purchase it at any time of the year, and you can start whenever you want to, so the planner meets you where you are. Amen. So if your new year hasn't started yet, this planner is perfect for you. Or if it's already started and you just want to pick it up and then start it in the month of June, that works too, because it's undated. So you fill in the months, you fill in the dates, and you go from there. There is also a 90-day brain dump. So pretty much every 90 days in the calendar, there is a page for you to brain dump. So that way you could check in with yourself, get the thoughts on paper. So that way you know how you want to tackle the next 90 days. And then also there are mom affirmations every month for you to read to give you some encouragement should you need it. Also, there's a goal planning sheet so you could plan out your goals for 12 months. And at the back of the journal, I have more goodies for you. I have a lot of money and self-care challenges, money saving and self-care challenges at the back of the journal. And it's just a fun way to hold yourself accountable and also to make sure you're taking care of yourself and your pocketbook. Amen. So if you haven't already, you can pick that up. It is available right now on Amazon. If you just type in the Empowered Mama Planner, it will come right up. But I will also have it linked in the show notes here on the podcast. And if you're listening or watching on YouTube, it will also be linked in the description box, a direct link for you to purchase the planner. Okay? Amen? All right. So today is part 3 of the series I am titling New Beginnings. So if you haven't already, go back and listen to parts 1 and 2 about new beginnings, where I'm kind of sharing all the details about purchasing my first home and some of the things that I had to do as far as changing my mindset, changing my beliefs, and really working hard to pursue this goal that I had of being a homeowner. So if you're already caught up, then this is part 3. If not, go back and listen to part 1 and 2, so that way you can catch up, so that way you can know what I'm talking about a little bit. Amen. Okay, so new beginnings, right? So when I started this one on the first part, I talked about how, the first step was just buying the home. Like that was just the first goal. There's lots of things that happened within that journey that was like new beginnings for me. So what I want to talk about in this episode is the process that I went through of getting my mind right, for this, and then also to getting myself right financially. So there was an episode that I did a while back called Getting Our Money Right in 2025. So if you haven't listened to that one too, you might as well just go ahead and listen to that one too. Just go ahead and just binge listen to all the episodes. But I talked a lot about what I did or and am doing still to this day to get my finances in order. Like I knew that I wanted to be a homeowner and I knew that it would take money. It would take me being responsible with the money that I had and it would take me saving. So I wanted to kind of get into that a little bit today and share with you guys how I was able to prepare myself mentally and financially to meet my home ownership goal. And honestly, if I were to give any advice to anyone who's looking to purchase their first home, like my advice would be like this is not going to be a quick process because there are things that you need to do before you even start looking for a home or considering what neighborhood you're going to live in. And these things that I'm about to share with you now, like it took time. Like I said, it took me from the time that I started this journey was almost 3 years ago. So it's taken me this long to prepare. And these are some of the things that I did to prepare myself mentally and financially. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is mentality, right? What we think is possible for us given our current circumstances. So for me, for a long time, I thought that home ownership wasn't a possibility for me. I thought that I didn't make enough money. I thought that my credit wasn't good enough. And I thought that just home ownership was for the rich. Now, the first two things were true. Well, actually, let me say this because I found out later that I did make enough to be a homeowner. But also, too, in my journey, I knew that my credit was not where it needed to be, and I needed to address that. So basically what I'm trying to say as far as like your mentality, like you have to get on the same page with yourself. And that means being honest with yourself. So and then also too another thing to note about mentality, if you're wanting to purchase a home or anything, if you have a goal you want to reach and you need to like prepare for it, please for the love of God, like just make sure that it's what you want. And this isn't something that you want to do to please anybody else or to keep up with anybody else or to put on a image or a facade of something that is really not your authentic want or your authentic goal, because I promise you like it's going to make the process 10 times harder if you're not doing this wholeheartedly for yourself or for your family. And this goes for whatever goal it may be, whatever you're trying to achieve, just make sure it's what you want. This is the only way that this is going to work. And as far as your mindset goes, it's the only way that it's going to work to your benefit. So with that being said, I had to change some habits about the way that I thought. So one thing that I had to implement is an inquisitive mindset. I had to be curious. And me, just normally as a regular person, like if you tell me it's one way, I'm like, okay, that's fine, and I'll move on with my life. I really don't dwell on the details or anything like that, but I knew going through this process, I was going to have to be very curious and very inquisitive. I knew that I was going to have to do a lot of research, ask a lot of questions, and if there was a one sliver of misunderstanding or something I didn't understand, I needed to speak up and ask the questions, because at the end of the day, this is my money. This is my money. This is my life. This is my journey. So I need to be clear on what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, all going to go into it. So I really had to change that about myself, because at times I can be very passive. Like I said, if you tell me it's one way, I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to argue with you. But not to say that what they're saying is not correct or it's not right. It's just always good to do your own research and make sure you're getting accurate information. So that was one thing that I had to change as far as like my mentality. I just had to be very inquisitive and be very curious throughout this process. Also, too, one thing that I had to do is speak up. Speak up. Again, I'm not a person who is very out there when it comes to my opinions. I don't try to insert my opinions on anyone who ain't looking for it. And I'm very soft-spoken and quiet. I don't say very much, but I knew that I would have to speak up if necessary because there are predatory loans out there, and in any situation there may be maybe instances where someone's trying to take advantage of you, or you're not getting the best deals and stuff like that. So I just had to really be on point and on guard, and if something didn't seem right, like to say something and speak up. And luckily, I didn't have to do that too much in this process, but there were instances where I did. I had to be like, okay, well, what does this mean? And that's another thing too. If you're learning about something and going through the motions, there's gonna be, terminology and processes that you don't know and understand. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Before you sign your name on any dotted line for anything or agree to anything, just make sure you have all the facts. Make sure you understand. Amen. Because you could have all the facts and still not understand what you're getting yourself into. So, like I said, I had to really put my passive nature aside and really be aggressive when it came to the information and to what I was, signing myself up for, basically. And also, too, one last thing that I'll say about mentality is I had to really believe in what I envisioned my life to be. I talked about it a little bit in part one and two, but I really did have to believe in the dream that I had for myself and for my kids. A lot of the times when we have a big dream or a big goal, we can talk ourselves out of it, or we can convince ourselves that it's not meant for us, or, oh, not right now. And then it just falls by the wayside. But I really, like, throughout this whole process, I really had to keep myself motivated. And sometimes that meant not paying attention to social media. Sometimes that meant not consulting with anyone for any advice and really just sitting with myself to make sure that like what I envisioned aligned with my beliefs. You know, I never envisioned myself being a homeowner because I would always find excuses on why I couldn't be. And I would try to prove myself like, see, this is why we can't do this. This is why. But I had to change the way that I thought. And then when in changing the way that I thought, I had to change my behaviors and my actions and my habits as well. So all that plays a part. And like I said, this can be applied towards any goal. It doesn't necessarily have to be a goal for buying a home, but your mindset and your mentality when you go into this is going to be super, super, super important, because you may come across a lot of no's, and there'll be a lot of people that'll tell you that, you can't do this, or this isn't, you can't have exactly what you want. You may want to look at this, which could be a good or a not so good thing. It just depends on with how well your vision aligns with what you see for yourself and what you know that you're capable of. So, mentality is going to be important when setting any goal and making sure that you achieve that goal. And I had to change a lot of things about my mentality and my mindset in order to get into a position to believe that this could be possible for me. Okay. And the next thing that I want to talk about is getting financially prepared. So, for whatever goal you have that involves money or finances, you need to get yourself financially prepared. But in this case, I'm going to be talking about buying this house specifically because I know that's a dream for a lot of us mamas. So, that's what I'm going to be focusing on, but feel free to tie this into anything that may be relevant for you. Amen. So, financially. So again, I encourage you to listen to my getting my money or getting our money right in 2025 episode. I'm going to talk about a lot of things that I talked about in that episode, and it's just that episode is full of gems, so I think you should listen to it anyway. But one of the things that I did first before I even started this whole process is I took stock of all of my expenses. So every dollar that left my account, amen, I was tracking it because I needed to see what my highest spending categories were, where what I was spending as far as bills and necessities, and then what I was spending on bullshit. I had to be able to pinpoint the amount of dollars I was spending in all the spending categories so that way I could know where I could cut back. You know what I'm saying? So, bills and necessities, stuff like that, groceries, all that stuff, that's a given. So, but what I'm talking about is stuff to cut out, like subscriptions, eating out, unnecessary impulse buys, stuff like that, like stuff that I just didn't need anymore and that I can cut out of my spending in order to save and put money aside. So, in doing my research, I saw that it was necessary when you're buying a home, like you have to have money in the bank. You have to show that you have reserves in the bank that will cover your mortgage for a certain amount of months. So, and I didn't have that when I started. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to show a pattern of saving money and I'm going to have money saved in my reserves at the time that I purchased this home. So let's get to it. So that's what I did. I took stock of all my finances. I started budgeting. And if you pick up the Empowered Mama Planner, amen, it will have budgeting tips in there. And one of the tips that I have in there is zero-based budgeting. That's the budgeting system I decided to use, and it's the budget I still use today. And basically, what it is that every dollar you have coming in has a job and is accounted for. So by the end of your budgeting, you have $0 left. Not to say that you spent all your money. Your money is, every dollar is just allocated to something. So whether that is savings, bills, monthly maintenance, self-care, the kids, all that, each dollar has somewhere and something to go and to do. So that's zero-based budgeting, and that works best for me. So that way I don't have money in my account just willy-nilly twisting in the wind, waiting to be spent. Also, too, you can include a spending budget for you to be willy-nilly with. All that works. It just your money has to have a job to do. It has to have somewhere to go. So that way at the end of the day, there is zero. So whether you move 200 to your savings, you save 200 to spend until your next paycheck, just eating out or going out with friends, buying something for yourself. You have money set aside for your bills, your rent, your mortgage, your necessities, any monthly things you have to pay, stuff like that. So that way every dollar has a job and is accounted for. So I know I talked about it before, but I realized my highest spending category was food. It was eating out with the kids, getting fast food. It was getting lunches at work, vending machine, all that stuff. And I remember in one episode I shared that in 1 month I had spent $600 on food alone, just food alone. And I was like, we gotta cut it out. We have to cut this out right now. So, pretty much what I did is I cut grocery shopping down to just once a month. I created a budget for grocery shopping. So I've been able to get my grocery budget down to about $380 a month. And that's what I spend on groceries. So I don't do any grocery shopping outside of that once a month. And the food will last us till the next month. And even though stuff is really expensive right now, I really only just try to get what we need. I try to get what we need and I stick to that. And I do try to cut out the fast food. Although this past month it kind of went a little crazy because when we moved, like I didn't really feel like cooking. I didn't want to like mess up my new kitchen and stuff like that. Like, so I wasn't really cooking that much. So I did spend a little bit more on fast food and takeout after we moved into our home. But now we're back to our regularly scheduled program and we are eating the groceries in the house. We are eating at home. Occasionally we will have fast food, but maybe it's like once or twice a month instead of like twice every week like what we were doing before, two or three times a week. So but yeah, I found that that was my highest spending category. For someone else, it could be different. But the main goal is to figure out what it is and see where you could scale it back so that way you can start putting money towards a home down payment or uh reserves or just having 3 months worth of expenses paid off or in your bank account saved in case the worst happens, you lose your job or something like that. Also, one thing too, I had to make sure that I was controlling my spending because once you start this process and you give them all your bank account information, they watching. They watching exactly how you spend your money, what you doing, and all that good stuff. So you don't want to make it seem like you don't know how to manage your money. So once I got to that part of the process where, okay, like they want your bank account information and all that stuff to verify your income, all that good stuff, I made for sure that I was only spending on the stuff that we needed, bills, gas, food, all that stuff. I was not making any unnecessary purchases for the home. And even though it was tempting, I was seeing a whole bunch of stuff on Amazon. I'm like, I just want to get it now so that way when I move in, like I'll already have the things, but I had to control myself. I had to control my spending and just put it in my little wish list. Just put it in my little list that I was creating for my home and wait. Wait, wait, wait. Do not go out spending your money for a home that you don't have yet because they could use that to say like, oh, well, you don't have any reserves, you don't have anything saved, like you're shopping and spending all this stuff. So just make sure that you are being mindful of your spending if you're starting this process. And just even if you're not at that point yet where you're speaking to a lender, start getting yourself in the habit. If you have a habit right now of impulse buying, get it under control now before you even start this process because it'll make it a whole lot easier. I promise you, it will. And then also to what I want to talk about with finances is credit. Y'all, credit is going to be important in this process. And I know you already know that, but it's going to be super, super important. Again, when I started this process, my credit was nowhere where it needed to be in a great position to buy a home. So I had to work on fixing it. Now, let me say this, and I mean this from the heart. I don't mean this in any foul type of way. But please, 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 if you know you are credit challenged and you need to fix some things, just do what you got to do to fix it. Do not try to get yourself involved in buy a home with bad credit type of thing. Just don't. And And I only say that because fixing your credit is just going to help you down the line. It's going to help you in the long run. It's going to open more doors in the future for other things that you may need or you may want. So it's just better to get it in order now, because this is probably going to be the biggest purchase of your life. Like, let's be real. This is going to be the biggest purchase you ever make in your life. And it's going to be the most important because it's going to be a purchase that's going to pay you over time as far as equity, or if you even decide to sell the home later. So why not just do the things to get your credit together? If that means paying off some of that stuff, then pay it off. If that means signing up with a reputable credit repair company, and don't fall for those, oh, $50 and we fix your credit. Like, make sure, do your research, make sure it's reputable, make sure that they get results from their clients, make them show you exactly when they pull up your credit file, make sure they tell you exactly what they can get rid of and what you would ultimately have to pay. And it may cost a little bit of money. Like, it may not be $50 or $25 or free credit repair. You may have to spend a little bit. But if that means like securing your future or making, the options and the opportunities more broader for you, then go for it. I did it. Like, I did it, and I would say that there were some things that credit repair was not able to get rid of, and I had to just come out of pocket and pay them people. And you just got to do that. And did that set me back, like as far as like saving money? Yes, it did. So that meant that I had to wait a little longer and save a little longer before, I had what I needed in my bank account to be able to proceed. But it takes as long as it takes. Just don't try to do any shortcuts when it comes to this credit thing, because it's only going to benefit you in the long run. After purchasing a house, your credit is gonna be in the best shape probably it's ever gonna be in. It can only go, I mean, it could go down for sure, but if you already build up those habits and those behaviors now, like while you're getting prepared, once your credit score gets to where it needs to be and you purchase your home, you ain't gonna want to do nothing to spoil that or to sully that credit score. So just get into the habit now. Find out what you need to do now to repair your credit and get it where it needs to be. Because it's only going to help you in the long run. Do not take shortcuts on this step. Don't sign up or fall for anything where it's like, oh, you could buy a home with bad credit, whoop de whoop. And especially if you're listening, I'm assuming you got kids. So, or even if you don't have kids, like just do what you gotta do to fix it. If you have extra money for credit repair, do that, a reputable credit repair, because there are some companies out there that can help you get things removed and get it off of your credit like permanently. But just be aware that there may be some things you will have to square up with the collector or whoever. So just be prepared for that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about that. Building an emergency fund. So that was very important too, to make sure that if anything were to happen after I purchased this home with my job or my income, that I at least had an emergency fund saved up in my account that would take care of my bills for a certain amount of months. And also, too, it would give me time. If I did have to look for another job, or, I had to figure out something, it would give me time, and I can ensure my bills are paid. So the normal rule of thumb, um, is you want to have at least 3 months of expenses saved in an emergency fund. So pretty much your bills and your cost of living, like rent, mortgage, times three in an account. So that way you can make sure your bills are always paid, no, or for a certain amount of time, if the worst should happen. So so that's what I did over the past few years. I had been saving an emergency fund, just to make sure that I had that money in the bank. The mortgage lenders call it reserves, but really the mortgage lenders are only wanting to make sure that you can pay, that you have the mortgage in your account. They don't really care about the rest of your bills. Um, so it's going to be up to you. Like I said, it's going to be up to you to do your research, figure out what all your costs and expenses are going to be, so that way you can budget it and make sure you have that in your account as reserves, aka emergency fund. So that way it just makes it puts you in a better position to be to a better position and well qualified in the lender's eyes to be able to handle a mortgage or buying a home. Some of the things that I did to build up my emergency fund is anytime I got a bonus at work or extra money, that went directly towards savings. So I always made sure that my bills and everything else were taken care of with my regular check. But if I ever got any like bonus or overtime money, I put that in my savings account straight away, so that it was allocated. That was part of the zero-based budgeting. Anything extra goes to savings. So anything outside of my living expenses, my monthly stuff, groceries, all that stuff, anything outside of that went to my savings account. So that way it could not be willy-nilly for me to spend. And I put it in a savings account that I do not have readily it, okay, so I put it in a savings account that I did not have immediate access to. So if I wanted to take that money out for any reason, I would have to go through hoops. Like it would take a couple of days for it to get from that account into my hands. So it's an account that, doesn't have a debit card or anything attached to it. It's not attached to my checking account to where I can transfer the money. It's hard to get to that money. So that's where I was saving it at. So that way it wouldn't even be a thought like, oh, it's okay, like I can spend this and then I'll just move the money over. Like I put it out of sight and I put it out of mind. And that really did help me to make sure that I was saving money and not just saving it and then next week pulling it out to go out to eat or something like that, or some crazy. So this stuff really does help y'all. Like I hope that this is resonating with y'all because this stuff really helped me. Um and then again with the tracking expenses and budgeting, actually looking at my account. I know sometimes when we be out spending, like we scared to look at our accounts after because we don't want to see the damage that we did. But I really did get into a habit of looking at my accounts daily. Like every day I would log into my banking app and make sure that my budget was on track and my spending was on track and what I had planned for. And that really helped me to stay on top of it. And once you're on top of your finances, y'all, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to track it and see your progress. And I bought a financial planner. I follow this lady on Instagram. She's called Bitch on Budgeting. Her name is Selma, and I bought her financially fit planner. And for a whole year, I used that planner to budget and get my zero base budgeting really down to a T. So that was very helpful for me. Like there was a whole year just saving and budgeting, and it really helped. So don't sleep on that, y'all. Like I said, like a goal as big as this is being a homeowner and buying a home. It's gonna take time. It's not gonna happen overnight unless you come up on some large sum of money and you buy your home cash. But for most of us, we're financing our homes, and it's gonna be very important for you to get yourself financially ready and mentally ready, because the process can be very long. It could be very frustrating, especially if you're out pounding the pavement, actually looking at homes and putting in bids and stuff like that and trying to find the perfect home. I necessarily didn't do that process. I went straight to the community that was being built. I went to the sales office and was like, I want a home here. What do I got to do? Let me see the layout. So I didn't deal with like a realtor and all that stuff. I just went straight to to the builder and was like, you guys are building homes here and I want to buy one. So, but whatever process or pathway you choose to do this, just make sure it's right for you. Make sure you do all your research and make sure you're making the best choice for you and your family. But that was all I had today, guys. That was it. I'm going to go ahead and land the plane here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And do not forget, the Empowered Mama Planner is available right now on Amazon. Also, the Motherhood is Ghetto Self-Care Journal for Mothers is still available on Amazon as well. Also, if you are not already, you can follow me on Instagram at motherhood_is_ghetto. I post show previews there. I post me and the kids there so you can kind of keep up with us. You could also feel free to DM me if you have any questions or anything or any topics you'd like to cut. I can't talk. Any topics you'd like me to cover on the podcast. And oh, last but not least, don't forget to follow the podcast. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and hit that follow button so that way you're notified every time I upload a new podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You already know how that go. Amen. So that way it'll let algorithm know that you like this content and it will push it to other people like you. And I so appreciate you, mamas. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, mamas.